Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
All right, party squirrels, it is time for the PowerPoint. I think they do a little bit of housekeeping before they continue with the PowerPoint. So let's jump right on in. Here we go.
We'll conclude for the day at that time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry about that.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we bring the jury in?
Oh, hang on.
Not that the state's aware of.
No? Okay.
We missed something. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Candace, welcome back. Wow. Okay, not mic movement. You want the PowerPoint?
All right, the jury is now present. Everyone may be seated. You can continue with this witness.
Thank you. So, Detective, before the break, we had just admitted Exhibit 209,
Wait, what?
a PowerPoint that you created.
Hang on. There's some, hold on. There it is. That's why they go away with the cameras and they come back. Hold on. All right, here it is.
The
Okay.
prosecution's present, the defense is present. Jury is not present. Apparently you have a witness issue this afternoon.
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Duncan was out ill yesterday and ill Sunday as well, and was not doing well as the morning went along. So I did send him home, and so Detective Werther will be our last witness today.
No.
Okay.
I presume that Detective Duncan will be hopefully better tomorrow.
Right. All right. So depending on, well, when we finish with this witness, whether it's before or after our noon break or afternoon break, we'll conclude for the day at that time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry about that.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we bring the jury in?
Not that the state's aware of.
No? Okay. Let's bring the jury in.
Okay. By the way, they seated a jury in the Karen Reed trial, guys. I don't know why, but they're still starting opening statements next week on the 22nd, but they seated a jury. Welcome, Abby. How did your workout go? Or are you still working out? There we go. PowerPoint. PowerPoint.
All right. The jury is now present. Everyone may be seated. You can continue with this witness.
Thank you. So, Detective, before the break, we had just admitted Exhibit 209, a PowerPoint that you created utilizing the GPS data that was extracted from Charles Vallow's phone, correct?
Yes.
The cell tower data that you obtained that you were able to obtain from search warrants on cell phones for Lori Vallow and Alex Cox.
Correct.
As well as incorporating some of the video that you had obtained from Burger King and the Walgreens.
That's right.
All right. We had attempted to see if you could control this from your location, but you were not able to, right?
Correct.
So I'm going to have you sort of tell me as we go through when to proceed to the next step, okay?
Very good.
So on this first page, is this just describing for us the cell phones and the data, where you obtained the data from?
Correct.
Okay. Can you talk to us about what we're seeing here? What is this for?
Yes. So I tried to have a slide for each set of records incorporated into the presentation. These are records I was provided. It's not necessarily the case that every one of these things is depicted at some point in the presentation, but these are all the records that was provided, about this number ending in 5452. Throughout the presentation, I'll refer to most of the numbers by the last four digits.
Thanks,
just
guys.
easier
I
than
had no
listing the
idea.
whole thing out, and they all have unique last four. So the listed subscribers is listed there, and then also the contact name that was listed in the subscriber records, and then you can see what each of the files was, primarily CSV or XLSX files. These are spreadsheets like you would open in Excel.
Okay. Next.
Yep. Okay, there we are. This is the same title for a different phone number ending 9562. You'll notice this one is T-Mobile, and the way T-Mobile provided their records is a lot fewer spreadsheets. It just happens to be the case that Verizon tends to provide an awful lot of files. It's just the way they maintain their records, and we don't control that.
So some of them have records that one spreadsheet may include everything from calls to cell tower locations, and others, they separate them all out.
Correct. Different businesses choose to keep their records different ways.
Yep.
We don't dictate it. We take what we're given and then we analyze that.
So this 9562 number is for Lori Bell.
That's what the subscriber information listed, yes. And here we have the records related to a Verizon number ending 9120, listed subscriber, Mr. Alex Cox. This is again Verizon, so as you can see, we have that multiple number of spreadsheets in the manner that they tend to provide them.
And those are sort of the things that were on those thumb drives when we were talking about
Correct.
the exhibit.
Correct. And then this is going to represent the data extracted from Mr. Vallow's phone after the fact. This report that I incorporates only the locations logged by the device. There's other data on the phone that I don't address here.
And then you referred to the evidence item of the CH131035-001,
Yes.
and that's impound number for that cell phone.
Yes, that's the Chandler PDSI number for that particular device from which the data was extracted. I mentioned some of this earlier, but again, I have it on the screen here representing that these are location data expressed as latitude, longitude pairs, as you would see in many other circumstances. Any given device may log them more frequently or less frequently, but we can examine the phone and see if they are present. And then for the data point marker, if you would click advance once, when it's represented on the screen, it's going to be represented as a dot with no particular radius, because the way that the device stored the location, it provides a latitude and longitude, but it doesn't make any assertion as to what the error rate on that is. It just says, here's the latitude and longitude that the device recorded on this date at this time. As we go through and we're looking at location data inferred from cell site connections, you will see pins on the map, and they're color coded because one of the easier ways for people to tell which thing we're looking at is what color it is. So you saw on the last slide, I had assigned the GPS location data the color of red. It's just as an arbitrary assignment. And then we have blue for one of the phone numbers attributed to Lori Vallow. We have purple for one of the other phone numbers attributed to Lori Vallow. We have green for the number attributed to Alex Cox. When you see these, those will be what they're associated with. And also, because that can be hard to remember, each slide that represents those records will have tabs up at the top to remind people of what they
love the
represent.
color coding. I hope they show us. We just got started.
We can advance, I think. This shape that
He's
you will see
introducing
when we're dealing
PowerPoint.
with cell site connections,
Better
this is
show us.
a visual representation of what the estimated coverage area of a particular cell site would look like if you were above it looking down. So there's the way that the records are stored and the way that they're returned to us by the cell phone providers. They will indicate a date and a time a connection was made. They'll give sufficient information to identify the tower to which it connected and also the face of the tower. So cell phone towers have
I'm
multiple
wondering if it's not showing us because they're showing the full phone numbers at this juncture. So
faces that a device could connect to, and that's going to indicate a direction generally. And then one can estimate what the coverage area of that face of the tower might be, and that's represented on the map as an estimate of the device's likely location area.
So when we're talking about the cell phone itself giving you the GPS location, is that more specific than the cell tower data that you're receiving from the providers like Verizon and T-Mobile?
Yeah, so there's
Yes.
the distinction between precision and accuracy, right? So
Thank
precision
you.
is how precisely the thing is
Yes,
defined.
sir.
So what area? So when the GPS location data says this exact latitude and longitude to some number of decimal places was logged at this time, that's very precise. That doesn't mean it has to be very accurate. That does mean it has to be, it's quite precise. What you will see when these devices are connecting to cell towers is you're going to see relatively large areas where the device is inferred to have been. It likely was in that area. This is different because the device didn't record this location. The provider recorded that on this date, at this time, this mobile device connected to this tower on this face, and we know or are able to determine the approximate coverage areas of those towers. But it's not more precise than that. It's a much more general area.
Yep. Well said. He's
This is
explaining it
another
really well.
representation of that shape. So this shape is derived by people in the industry by testing the way that these antennas work in what's called an anechoic chamber, which is a fancy word for a room that's designed to reduce the interference with the propagation of radio waves. So if this represents what a coverage area might look like under lab conditions, one thing to keep in mind is that the real world basically never mirrors lab conditions. This is an estimated area where you would expect an antenna to likely have coverage, and that's what it's represented for. And then if you click forward, it just shows the direction the antenna
Glad
face
you said
is
that.
pointing.
Very good.
If you are looking at one of these shapes on the map, then that center line is what's known as the azimuth, which is essentially just the angle at which that face of
Yes.
the tower was recorded to have been facing.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Are you all excited, Twiz? Let me move my mouse a little. Okay. So there we go. Okay. Excellent. This is just so fucking exciting, isn't it? Shape is created through the testing by the antenna manufacturers in an anechoic chamber. Blah, blah. Something is an estimation of how the radio frequency will propagate away from the antenna. Line in the middle is referred to as the azimuth, which indicates the direction the antenna is pointing. Love it. Kind of weird shape there, though.
So you're not able to tell us within this area where the cell phone may have been located.
Not without a different type of data or separate corroboration. It's to say that the likely covered area where the device likely was is somewhere in that red shaded area.
And so when you talk about trying to use other sources to verify this, we talked about Charles Vallow's phone and looking at the GPS data, for instance, with the WALGREENS. Are you doing the same thing with the cell tower?
Yes, that's correct. It's with any of the data that we're given that asserts to represent the location of a person or of a device. One of the first things one wants to ask is, okay, well, how reliable is that? And what ways can we determine if it's reliable? And so in all instances, I'm looking to see other corroboration that that location data appears to be accurate.
Remember, Twiz, you can jump on anytime if you have any comments.
This is an example of what the mapping will look like that you'll see throughout this. So this is just a section taken from a slide that was generated, and I put it up front so you can see in advance what it's likely to look like at different points.
Oh my
So if you
God.
click forward.
Neato.
This is going to represent in Google Earth Pro, they have this timeline slider bar that allows one to interact with what time
Welcome
it is. So
to
up top, that
this.
should be visible, and there'll also be notation, and it'll show approximately when the events depicted on the screen took place, and it'll be a range. It can be widened or narrowed as needed. And if you'll click forward. So as we just discussed, the estimated location for the device ending 9120 would be somewhere in that green shaded area. And if you'll click forward. The iPhone, which was recording its locations as pinpoints, those are all expanded out, but you see how the lines all draw to the same approximate place. That means that for a period of time, it was in a same location, and when one clicks on it, they all balloon out to show that they're all tied back to that same place. So you would expect the iPhone to be in the area where those all tied together, and if one zooms in, you get a more precise look at that. And then if you
I just wanted to pause it real quick. I'm going to move these so you guys can see it's color coded. I love it. So the red is going to be Charles up here at the top. Blue is going to be Lori, and green is going to be Alex. Oh my God, move those back up. Okay.
click forward. Then the estimated location for 5452, somewhere in the lavender shaded area. You'll notice that they're sized differently. This size is an estimate based on cell phone tower density. It can vary by provider and can vary by the area because as a general rule, cell phones seek the strongest connection that they have available to them. So when the device connects to the tower, that tower's area may be greater if there is less density of cell towers around, and it may be smaller if there's more density. And then the last thing's a reminder of what those tabs up top are for. Those are just to help a viewer keep track of what they're
So
seeing.
they're
On the screen.
calling blue. They're calling that lavender,
Told us
I
that you
guess.
mapped just July 11th of 2019, correct?
Correct.
Looks blue to me, but okay.
So this animation is showing location data derived from the cell phone. So you'll see the tab up top reminding you what the color coding means. And it shows the True by Hilton, 1950 South Santan Village Parkway. And that the location data is in that area in the early morning hours and also in a few areas nearby, but then returns to that area.
Wait, I want to hear that. Let me slow this back down. I want to hear that part again. So this is Charles's. Okay, hang on. Okay.
Location data derived from the cell phones. You'll see the tab up top reminding you what the color coding means. And it shows the True by Hilton, 1950 South Santan Village Parkway. And that the location data is in that area in the early morning hours and also in a few areas nearby, but then returns to that area.
I did that. Hold on. So we're looking, you have 716, Charles' iPhone is in the area of the True Hilton. So this is AM, correct?
Yeah, so it's, and forgive me, I'm going to use military time because it's what we do. But 0000 is midnight through 716. This animation covers that range of time. And it's playing through what the locations do as one scrolls through that time, including that they end and the True by Hilton. These can be somewhat graphically intensive.
Oh, so they don't have a good enough graphics card,
So
I guess,
as you're
on the
continuing
computer.
through the morning, you continue mapping the GPS of Charles's phone.
Yes, so
I don't know why it's doing this.
we may need a different machine.
You need to what?
A different machine. Okay, this time frame that you saw depicted partially is showing that from 716 to 731, all the individual recorded locations describe a path, and that path leads from the True Hilton along major roadways generally, and then comes at around 731 to the area 5531 South Four Peaks Place. And then it goes slightly past that to 737, which marks the last outgoing communication sent by the device before the shooting is known to have occurred.
We'll keep trying this one, and if it messes up again, I'll switch to the other one.
All right.
So just so we know, when was the 911 call?
The 911 call was at 8:36.
Okay.
So at 7:37, you see the last outgoing communication. That's a text message sent
Interesting.
by the phone.
Correct. This is advancing from 737 to 749 and showing those various location hits in the general area of the Four Peaks Place house. And then at about 750, which as it notes is 45 minutes before the call would be made to 911, the device leaves the area. And then it zooms out and it shows that it is 752, which is about 43 minutes before the call will be made to 911. The
Okay.
device associated with Alex Cox, specifically the 9120 device, makes an outgoing call to the 9562 device associated with Ms. Lori Vallow.
So right before they broke for lunch, what we were seeing was that it looks like Lori took Charles's phone when she went gallivanting around. So my thought is what's going to happen here is Alex calls Lori's number. My guess is they're going to be able to then pinpoint that Lori's phone was with Charles's phone and Charles's phone left at 7:50. So this is giving time of death, right? Between 7:30, what was it? 7:37 and 7:50. She's leaving with his phone. Interesting.
All right, so we see
You got
the
to
little
choose.
house icon is the residence where the shooting occurred,
I
correct?
don't know this
Correct.
phone, though.
And we see Lori Vallow's phone at this point at 9:52, utilizing a cell tower that is overlaps some, but it appears to be away from the residence.
Yes, so the pin is the location of the cell tower that is being connected to in each of these cases. So yes, one would notice that the cell tower being serviced for Ms. Vallow's device is a bit farther to the north in this case.
And then you said that there is a call from Alex Cox's cell phone to Lori Vallow's cell phone?
That's correct.
They overlap. So yeah, interesting.
So we've
It looks
added
like Charles' phone was pinging on one tower and Lori's was pinging on a different tower, which again, not uncommon. And I think they also were using different service providers.
On the map, the location of the Burger King at 2865 East
Interesting.
Ocotillo Road, and you can see the red
What does that
dots again
mean,
representing
guys?
the GPS locations from Charles Vallow's phone, arriving at around that time. So we're looking from 7:53 to 7:56, and the
fucking
device is
A.
at or near where
Fucking A. Charles's phone is near the Burger King. What do you know, guys?
the Burger King is located.
Dude,
And so when you went to
the audacity. Not only does she completely lie about the time she went to the Burger King, but she took Charles's phone with her to the freaking Burger King.
Burger King,
Oh,
um,
God.
let me
She's
ask this.
literally the worst.
Prior map that we saw,
Wow.
did that cell tower cover the area of where this Burger King was or is?
It may have. The thing is, all these locations are estimates, so it's in the area. It likely covered it, yes.
Did you then utilize that video that we talked about to
There it is. Oh, my
confirm
God.
that Charles Vallow's phone showing in this area appeared to match
Wow.
the SUV as well as Ms. Vallow being there?
Yes, it appears to match this visit to the Burger King, which we are now seeing. This is the video that I recovered from the Burger King.
So this was a video that, so you could identify the vehicle and at least see the license plate on that.
Correct.
And as you watched it, this one doesn't depict or you can't see the driver on this video, right?
Right, there's another view coming up.
So this one just shows us hands going in and out.
It does. It shows the view showing the vehicle. This is one of the views that they have of their drive-through.
Hang on, guys. As we do, I did this at record speed this time. I will be honest. I'm really happy with how quickly I did this. Okay, there it is. There's the Burger King, the exact one. There it is. That's the Burger King. And if you look right there, you can see the freaking drive-through. Like, this looks just like the one. I mean, this is literally the one. This is the one. Okay, so now let me go back to the trial. But now we have that because we like to always have a orientation as to where we're at in place and time, as they say. Is that how they say it? You know, space and time. There we go.
So if we forward to the next
Crazy.
slide,
This is so
Yes.
crazy.
we will see from the inside the
What do you
service.
mean by this?
Correct. So this is
Oh
their
my
drive-through
God.
window view. Again, at 7:54.
Wow. What a freaking many things. I don't even have words. They're making the Sprite, I suppose. Jesus. Wow. Bless you.
Bless you.
I wonder if that was the witness that said bless you or the judge. I love that though. Twiz is a Lori fan. It's pretty fucking funny. Twiz, why did you think I was leaving you? What are you talking
And
about?
so did this appear to match the receipt that you had received?
This did appear to match the receipt, and this I was told as well, and that document was associated with this transaction.
So the time matched up as well as what they appear to be purchasing in
Correct.
the video.
Correct.
I did see you later. I'm confused.
Now, in this video, were you able to see if there was someone in the back seat?
We're here now.
I can't particularly tell if there's someone in the back seat.
You could tell there was a passenger, though.
Front seat passenger, yes.
Many murders, Kit Smith's many murders. She didn't do it herself. She had
So we see the vehicle pulling away at
People.
almost 7:56 according to their timestamp. We can now advance. This video as well is going to show at about 7:56 as the vehicle leaves from that view at the drive-through.
Yeah. I had to go create the new live streams twice. I literally
So again,
created
we're seeing
next
that
live streams.
the times
This
that
is
are
like-
documented on Charles's phone seem to appear with what you're looking at from other independent sources.
That's correct. So here we have the location data from Mr. Vallow's iPhone is now moving north. You see those few hits that are rendered in red. That's from 7:56 to 8:06. So that's the time that the vehicle just left and going forward 10 minutes. And then at 8:06, there is this outgoing call from Alex Cox's device to Lori Vallow's device. And you can see the service area for Ms. Vallow's device has also moved north to an area that covers the same area where you see those red data points for Mr. Vallow's iPhone.
So now it's clear that from the mapping that Charles Vallow's phone, the GPS data appears to be in the general area of where Lori Vallow's cell phone is utilizing a cell tower.
That's correct.
And Alex Cox's phone appears to be utilizing a cell tower in the area of the residence at 5531 South Four Peaks.
That's correct.
Then we have a phone call at 8:06. At this time, has 911 been called?
Nope. This location data now goes to an area where there is a Walgreens in Chandler. This is, again, location data from Mr. Vallow's phone. And then it goes north and west to a different Walgreens. This Walgreens at 785 at South Cooper Road is the one from which I eventually obtained video. And we see it's arriving around 8:16 in the morning.
Did you go to that other Walgreens?
I did not go to that other Walgreens.
Did you call them?
I did not.
So you picked the right one. You called this Walgreens. Were you able to see that the phone was there for a while?
Yes,
And did that give you a clue that this was the Walgreens that might have some relevant information?
more likely correct.
So we see those red dots again identified as Charles Vallow's iPhone, the GPS data that was extracted from it. And we see that his phone is in that area around 8:08.
Well, it moves to that area. So at 8:08, it was at the one on Lindsay. And then from 8:08 to 8:17, it moves up to the one on Cooper. And that's where we are now, is at around 8:17.
And we can tell that from the up on the left-hand corner.
The
the
slider
slide.
up top. Yep.
Okay. So then you went to that Walgreens after you confirmed and you obtained video from them.
That's right.
Oh, here we go. Oh my
This
God.
is the video. You can see the timestamp at 8:16 as she walks in.
Oh my God.
And then I think we can advance to the next. So these are just multiple views that they had. The video at the door was motion activated, so I don't control when it starts or ends. Those are the clips that they had.
There's the
She's tying
stupid
2 pairs of
flip-flops.
Flip-flops.
As indicated in the receipt.
They said WMN, women's. Oh, so you do, okay, yep, Lori and Chad. This is that Lori and Chad. Yeah, the reason they talk about them in relation to those folks, Ruby and Jody, is also the LDS element.
So you'll see on their timestamp, we're now up to 8:20 and the transaction is completed. Awesome
Kits.
Yeah, I think we can go to the next slide. All right, so this shows now a time span from 8:17 to 8:33. You see that the next location hits move over to Lawrence Life Academy at 8:33 at 1305 South
Okay, so you
Gilbert
did
Road.
go to school. That's the one thing that
So this is a couple minutes before the 911 call. And then
Suppose.
we see the 911 call depicted in that coverage
Wow.
area in the green towards the bottom of the screen. And it shows 8:35 and 54 seconds is when the outgoing 911 call is placed. It shows that number there to 911, indicating that the call is outgoing from the 9120 number associated with Mr. Alex Cox. And the last location data that we see in this time span for Mr. Vallow's iPhone is up by the Gilbert and Ray area.
So where we see that red dot is where Lawrence Life Academy is, or in the general area of that.
Correct.
And then we see
It's
that
so
she's
funny.
still back at the
She
residence.
didn't think at all about the cell phones. Not only did she just go about her regular life. I mean, they got hurt, but not only that, Charles is with her as well. It's just, what was she fucking thinking?
At 5531 South Four Peaks is Alex Cox's cell phone, and this is when he finally makes the 911 call at 8:35.
That's correct.
Wow. You know, I wondered, well, they said he would have died. Charles would have lived for like, what, 2 to 4 minutes or whatever. I was initially thinking, did Alex wait for him to actually die to call 911? But he would have had to live for much longer than 2 to 4 minutes.
This is an excerpt from the Chandler Police Department's CAD report in this manner, showing the call received and connected at 8:36 and 21 seconds. And this is specifically relative to this case. You can see our report number in the first line of text entered by the call taker.
Bold of me.
And is that, again, to verify that that phone call you're seeing occurring on Alex Cox's phone records matches up with what is being received?
Exactly. And then here at 8:49, we would see, looking at the location data on Mr. Vallow's phone, it's moving south, and that it's about at 8:49 that it arrives in the neighborhood at 5531 South Four Peaks Place, rather, and specifically on that street. So just looking at the data, you would expect the device has now arrived in the area of the house at about 8:49.
Now, you told us that this GPS data, that you have no control over when a phone is documenting that. So it's not like every minute or every 5 minutes that it does that.
Correct.
You're just given the data you're given. That's when it marked again that where it was.
Correct.
Did you then, again, to try to confirm that this is, in fact, his phone is back in the area by looking to body cam footage to show the arrival of Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan?
Correct. So one way of corroborating if the device is traveling with her and if it arrives at
There
about the
they
same
are.
time. Our body cameras are all time stamped.
There
The
she
officer
is.
happened to be wearing his upside down, so I'll fix that for you in a moment on this slide, but you can see the timestamp there. And if we advance, I highlight a couple of things about this slide. I highlight
Whoa,
the sandals.
That's
I
cool.
invert the timestamp so you can read it properly, and I do the conversion
Look at it.
because it's in Zulu time, which is Greenwich Mean Time, which is always 7 hours ahead of Arizona. So you have to do a little conversion to get to 8:48 in the morning.
Well done,
So that
Ariel.
again matches with the GPS data from Charles Vallow's phone showing that his phone was now back on scene.
Okay. And look, they circled the fucking flip-flops. She said she bought the flip-flops for JJ and they were for her and Tylee. You know, it makes you wonder what happened to their shoes though, right? Were their shoes actually bloody? Were their shoes actually, you know, did they actually, this whole story about they just left without their shoes, did something happen to their shoes? Did they get rid of the shoes? I mean, this is just, you got to be rethinking all this now because she lied about everything.
Correct.
Oh my God. Oh
Now,
my
you
God.
continue to track the phone for the day.
Yes, so this shows a time span 8:49 to 9. The phone is near the Four Peaks house, as was Alex Cox's device. Advancing a little bit, we see that now Alex's device is up in the area of the Chandler Police Department. And another way that I can check that that appears to be accurate is that I know that he was transported there at about that time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we saw before this went purple that Lori Vallow's cell phone and Alex Cox's cell phone were in the area of the 5531 South Four Peaks,
Yes,
along with Charles's iPhone.
yes,
And then we see a movement of Alex's phone to the Chandler Police Department.
yes, that area where it was at the end of the slide before the animation overpowered the machine
my God.
was showing a coverage area that includes the Chandler Police Department.
So what are we seeing here then?
Okay, this is just advancing forward through the day. So showing that if you go to the noon hour, then between 12:13 and 12:36, the device moves up to an area by Santan Village Parkway in the 202. And then there is a tower connection with Ms. Vallow's device ending in 9562, showing that device is also in an area served by that tower.
So
See you
in this
later,
time
kids.
frame
Love
then
you.
of 12:30, we see both Charles Vallow's cell phone GPS data and Lori Vallow's cell phone utilizing a cell tower in the area of Santan.
Yes, that's right.
I just want to say one thing that does suck though about Karen Reed is opening statements for Karen Reed are going to also happen on the first day of the defendant's case in chief in this trial, aka Lori Pro Se, assuming that the state finishes on Thursday as anticipated. So
this is again showing the trail of those location data points moving forward in time as Charles Vallow's device is moving roughly east. And you can see also connections made by Lori Vallow's phone and by Alex Cox's phone in similar areas at similar timeframes until we get to a point where the device arrives at this house at 1658 East Shari Street in Santan, which I understand to be Mr. Alex Cox's residence at the time.
All right, so the address of 1658 East Shari or Shari Street in Santan was Mr. Cox's residence. And now at 1:40 or so, 1:30 to 1:40, we're talking about Charles Vallow's phone sending GPS data that it's in that area.
Yes, that's correct. So now looking at 1342 to 1407, so that's 142 to 207 p.m.
There she
You
is.
see multiple tower hits from
Oh my
both of
God.
Lori's devices, and you also see persistent GPS location data from Mr. Vallow's device in that same area. Specifically, this call that you're seeing now in the lavender is known to be a call made to Detective Inkland's desk phone.
All right, so we have Lori Vallow in the area of utilizing a cell tower in the area of her brother Alex's house, along with Charles Vallow's iPhone being in that area of his house.
Correct.
And then we see a call to Detective Inkland's desk phone by Ms. Vallow.
That's correct.
And were you aware that Detective Inkland had called Lori to ask them to return to the scene?
I was aware of that.
Were you actually at the scene?
At that time, I don't think so.
Okay. You were there earlier.
That's correct.
So,
No, I'm going to correct that. I was there at that time.
okay. You were still at the
I was
scene.
still at the scene at that time, yes.
He was thinking.
Yes.
All right, so this next map or slide that we see, what is this time frame we're seeing?
Okay, so this advances just a little bit. So it's 1409 to 1418. Again, we still see red location hits for Mr. Vallow's iPhone. We still see blue for Ms. Vallow's 9562 number. And we see this lavender one come up for her 5452 number. It's an outgoing call to a particular phone number that I know to be associated with the Valley of the Sun Mortuary. If you advance to the next slide.
Oh my God, of course it is. Of course.
Maybe.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, now you can advance. I was just highlighting the number. This is that same number on their website.
So go back. At
How much you want to bet? Cremate him right away.
Mr. Vallow is calling the Valley of the Sun Mortuary.
Yes.
Right. Wow. Disgusting. Disgusting.
So here we advance this area. This is
I mean,
going
who
up
does that,
closer to
though?
243.
Who
You'll
literally
see
does that?
location data
Nobody.
for the iPhone starts
I
trending
mean,
westward
Jesus. Red
and
flags.
is eventually going to arrive again in the area
Ew.
of 5531 South Four Peaks. That's at about 3:11 p.m. when it arrives in that area.
Now,
No shame.
you indicate in one of the icons up there that from 209 to 243 or 1409 to 1443, that you also had noted Lori's, both of her phones associated with her, the Verizon and T-Mobile, as well as Alex's Verizon phone, were initially in the area of Alex's house in Santan. And that sort of throughout that time period, you're saying.
Correct.
And then we see initially Charles's GPS coming back to the residence at 5531 South Four Peaks and arriving there around 243.
Arriving there around 3:11. Yeah, correct.
So we know that because we have to again look at the slide up at the top. That's when it arrives there.
Correct.
After that, did you become aware that Charles Vallow's cell phone was handed over to Detective Inkland?
I did.
And then presented to someone later in your forensics unit to download, extract, so that you could use it for instance, this.
Correct. It was assigned that item number I listed earlier in the report, and then it was submitted for extraction, and that's how I eventually obtained that location data that you've just seen.
Did you look at any other days to do GPS data?
I did not.
Was this day looked at because you were trying to see what was going on with both Miss Vallow, Alex Cox, as well as Charles, and later just his phone?
Yes, specifically, we initially had concerns about the timeline I was initially asked to look at, and I looked at it at that time, noting those issues, which led to recovery of video and things. Is not primarily my case. I was.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, phone seats stay off or you will be absolutely courtroom.
As it's not primarily my case, beyond that, I would have done whatever else I was asked to do, but I wasn't asked to look at other days in this case.
So ultimately, your what you determined was that the timeline of Lori Vallow leaving when the 911 call was and returning back was not accurate.
Yes, as I understood, based on, again, the multiple different ways now that we're able to corroborate location not only of devices that are relevant, because we knew at this point that she had Charles's phone, we knew numbers for her phones, we have video of her at various places. It led to the inescapable conclusion that either the shooting did not happen that close in time to the 911 call, or that she wasn't there for the shooting. I could not see a third way of interpreting that data.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Let's hear that again. That's the end of, okay, let's hear that again. His final conclusion here.
Devices that are relevant, because we knew at this point that she had Charles's phone, we knew numbers for her phones, we have video of her at various places. It led to the inescapable conclusion that either the shooting did not happen that close in time to the 911 call, or that she wasn't there for the shooting. I could not see a third way of interpreting that data.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
So that does bring up an interesting point, because what if, I mean, either way it's damning evidence, but that's something that hadn't really been talked about because we didn't know this timeline until now. But the idea, it's almost in a way worse for her if the shooting did happen right before the 911 call, but she wasn't there, right? Then the whole thing, I mean, just think about that, right? The whole story about her and the kids and Tylee with the bat, it's entirely, like, is that possible? Like, is it possible she really, like, I guess it's possible. Like, that's insane to think about, right? Like, I mean, talk about proven conspiracy, right? Like, that is insane. She wasn't even there and then made up that whole story. I mean, either way. Wow.
Questions for this witness?
Cross.
All right, cross.
Here she comes. Wow. Stupid outfit.
Detective Werther, you had submitted a report on 12/26/2019, is that correct?
That sounds correct.
And have you had a chance to review that at all before your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm already annoyed.
I found some interestingly contrasting things in your report.
Oh, Lord.
That you reported on that date.
Get my counter ready.
You made a note of his daily text message of love and devotion to me. Do you remember that?
Oh, my
I do not.
God.
Okay. Then you also made a note of his interactions with women he was attempting to date. Is that correct?
I do remember that.
Okay. Detective Werther, in your
Wow.
report on page 103, you indicate that Charles went to the airport to meet Florence Hughes and found that she never boarded.
No
Is that
kidding. Yeah.
correct?
What?
Hold on.
Object to relevant.
No kidding. I mean, I'm like, where were you, state?
What's the relevance of that?
God.
It's just in his report, Your Honor, and I was just going over it. to
No,
see if-
no,
Well,
no.
everything in a police report isn't necessarily
Oh, my
necessarily
God.
relevant. Well, how's it relevant to this
Oh,
case?
my God.
It's relevant to show what was going on in this
No.
right before this
Nope.
happened. These
Nope.
events happened
Nope.
within
Nope.
June and
Nope.
July.
All right, it's the objection sustained.
Oh, guys.
Did you learn who Florence Hughes was?
I'm going to object
No.
again to
No.
relevance.
Sustained.
No Florence Hughes coming in. Mother of God.
In your report, Detective, you find evidence that Charles did in fact send someone $1,000.
I would object to relevance again.
Sustained.
I would object to relevance to all of these types of
No
questions.
kidding. The thing is like, if she's going to do shit like this, the jury already hears the question, right? So I understand this isn't normally something that happens, but the state is like preemptively objecting. Wow.
When you had, what was your role in going through the data from the phone, from my husband's phone?
So primarily I went through the location data because of the concerns we had about timeline. I know I went through other data associated with other accounts, but I don't believe I specifically went through the phone extraction outside of the location data.
Okay. But in your
Or
report,
you're
you
going to have to ask someone else about the dumbass text messages that will still get objected to.
made a lot of notes to these things, but that wasn't what you were looking for. You just happened upon it. How did that happen?
Okay.
So there are things found, I think many of those may be related to a Google account. And yes, as certain things were being accomplished as a team, sometimes you'll task out and say, would you look through this to see what you find that may be relevant? And it isn't always clear up front in an investigation what's going to be relevant.
Right.
So when I see communications between people without knowing the full story, particularly when I'm not the primary case agent, I may note things because I want to make sure the case agent knows of them so he or she can decide if that's a thing that needs to be pursued further. And if they think it is, then they can ask me or someone else, or they can do it themselves. But that would be why some of those things are documented.
Okay. And you wrote them in your report because you thought they might be relevant?
No.
Yes, not knowing the full case.
You
I know
just
that things like
explained
that may
why,
be relevant.
Lori.
And that would need to go to the case agent so he could decide if those were relevant or not as well.
Correct. The case agent has much fuller information, particularly as a long-term investigation goes on. As somebody who's just helping out with certain tasks, it's not always obvious to you what things are going to be relevant to the person who knows the entirety of the case.
So you mentioned in your report that on July 10th, there was a scheduled phone date with Nancy Jo Hancock. Is that correct?
I think I did indicate that in my report, yes.
Okay. And then on the next day, there was another date scheduled with a Jennifer Gilbert at 12 o'clock.
That sounds correct.
And then the next day, there was another date scheduled with a Juliet at 10 a.m.
And obviously trying to smear the victim.
All right, the objection sustained.
Detective, did you find searches for these dates
Can I
for my
object?
husband back
Hold
to?
on.
If we can do a
Hold on.
sidebar.
Sustained.
This is a different
Wh-
question,
no,
Your Honor.
Whether he went on dates or had dates scheduled is not relevant to this case. Ask another question.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You
Oh
can
my
ask
God.
about the date of the
That's
person
her.
that testified the night before, because that person was in here and had some
Right.
relevant information.
Yes.
But other than that, any of these other questions
Correct.
are not relevant.
He's at 148.
Detective, you talked about going with Detective Moffett to the hotel room where you found my husband's laptop. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And then was also his iPad in there?
I believe so.
And then you said some suitcases,
Correct.
maybe his briefcase was like a rolling suitcase.
It may have been, we may be describing the same thing differently. I didn't personally inventory the items. I helped to package them and take them back to the station.
Okay. So when you got that, does that stuff go in evidence bags? I mean, how does that work when you got to the hotel room? Can you walk us through that?
Sure, there are different ways that one can do it. Pardon me.
That's
If the crime
fair.
had occurred at the hotel room, it might be done in a different way. In this case, just clearing out someone's hotel room instead of unpacking everything there and searching through all of it in the hotel room and then
Right.
repacking it all there. Sometimes it's much more appropriate to take the items as they are, seal them up, take them back to the
Right,
station
but
and impound
probably
them where they can be dealt with later as needed. So that's what we did in this case.
And then so with the electronic devices, were they off already or were they on? How did that work out?
I didn't check the condition of them, but I also didn't alter the condition of them.
So nobody got on there and opened it up or anything to see if it was powered on or not?
I did not do that.
Okay. And it was just you and Detective Moffett in there, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So after you collect all those things and then you take them with you to go to evidence, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And so how long about do you think that you were there at that hotel room?
I no longer recall exactly how long we were there.
And then is someone documenting that? Like as you're putting together things, someone's writing down what that is, what you're taking?
Oh, writing down what the items are. Yes, so we do document what the items are that we're taking, typically by at the station entering that into our report management system where they're assigned numbers like the one that you saw for the cell phone earlier. And then an evidence continuity begins when they're submitted to the property and evidence unit.
And then was there anything left in there that wasn't taken? I mean, just kind of clear out all of his things.
Anything left in the room?
Correct.
I do not believe we left anything in the room.
Okay. So then all of the things were taken into custody and that was the end of your association with them?
That's right.
Okay. But you were instrumental in delivering them, is that correct?
Yes, I assisted in packaging and delivering them, yes.
And that was just you and Detective Moffett?
Yes, that's right.
In the course of your investigation, Detective, did you become aware of the $2 million life insurance policy Charles had on me?
I'm not aware of that.
In the course of your investigation with my husband's phone, did you come across the threatening text messages from him to me?
I don't believe I saw text message content from his phone. From the phone, I restricted what I was looking at to the location data I had been given. So I'm not aware of contents of the phone.
Okay.
Messages.
And then Detective, what was your role back at the house?
Because she started out by asking that question. Did you see her his daily affirmation text of love and whatever the fuck it was?
Or Peaks Place? Approximately what time did you arrive and then leave the scene?
I arrived, it's indicated in my report, and I wouldn't want to hazard a guess because I don't recall. But
I think the part bit about the threatening is to try to support the self-defense thing, right? That it was legitimate for them to be afraid, for her to be afraid, and because there was a history of threatening. I mean, there's no evidence to support it, but she keeps talking about it.
I remained at the scene essentially, as mentioned, to shadow and observe the way these investigations are conducted. I know I was still there when the medical examiner arrived. I know I was still there when Mr. Cox came back, but exactly what time I left, I do not know.
Okay.
Okay.
And you mentioned you were shadowing Detective Kuntz, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you stay with him the whole time?
Yes.
And so you just kind of helped him doing what he was doing?
Yes, and I'm not
Right.
confident how much I was there helping as much as observing. I didn't actually perform any particular tasks while I was there because, again, I was not on the team yet.
So you were observing mostly?
Mostly.
And then did you take notes while you were observing or just
I did not.
physical with the eyes?
I was just there to observe, yeah.
Okay.
Physical with the eyes. Lori? No, he saw with his nose. Where? I swear.
You had mentioned that you had called me on July 12th, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And that I had told you that I had when you asked me about information about JJ's school, I gave that to you, correct?
Correct.
And then I told you that I had the hotel key, is that correct?
Correct.
And you indicated that you'd send someone over to pick it up.
Wait,
Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Hang on. Oh my God. Wow. Hold on. What is it? What's happening? Hold on. Let me just, I was trying to type in the chat. What is going on? So I was, okay. I don't know what is going on. Let's try that again. So what I was saying though is, I was going to type to James that it's actually, I believe, my fourth live stream of the day. Okay, let's go back to where we were with him on cross. Okay.
went through other data
I wonder if it's because the stream ended. Maybe that's what happened.
associated with other accounts, but I don't believe I specifically went through the phone extraction outside of the location data.
Okay,
We were past that.
but in your,
Why some of those things are documented.
okay. And you wrote them in your report because you thought they might be relevant?
Yes, not knowing
We were
Yeah,
past
any of
that.
these other questions are not relevant.
Past this.
numbers like the one that you saw for the cell phone earlier. And then an evidence continuity begins when they're submitted to the property and evidence unit.
And then,
And so
I don't think we were there yet.
of them.
so nobody got on there and opened it up or anything to see if it
We
was
were right
tied on
around
or
here.
not?
I did not do that.
Okay. And it was just you and Detective Moffat in there, is that correct?
That's right.
I know.
So after you collect all those things and then you take them with you to go to evidence, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And so how long about do you think that you were there at that hotel room?
I no longer recall exactly how long we were there.
And then is someone documenting that? Like as you're putting together things, someone's writing down what that is, what you're taking?
Oh, writing down what the items are. Yes, so we do document what the items are that we're taking, typically by at the station entering that into our report management system where they're assigned numbers like the one that you saw for the cell phone earlier. And then an evidence continuity begins when they're submitted to the property and evidence unit.
I think it was Elena,
And then
but that's a Mormon one.
was there anything left in there that wasn't taken? I mean, just kind of clear out all of his things.
Anything left in the room?
Correct.
I do not believe we left anything in the room.
Okay.
Great.
So then all of the things were taken into custody and that was the end of your association with them?
That's right.
Okay. But you were instrumental in delivering them, is that correct?
Yes, I assisted in packaging and delivering them. Yes.
And that was just you and Detective Moffat?
Yes, that's right.
In the course of your investigation, Detective, did you become aware of the $2 million life insurance policy Charles had on me?
God, Lori, why?
I'm not aware of that.
In the course of your investigation with my husband's phone, did you come across the threatening text messages from him to me?
I don't believe I saw text
that
message
part.
content from his phone. From the phone, I restricted what I was looking at to the location data I had been given. So I'm not aware of contents of the phone.
Okay. And then, Detective, what was your role back at the house at Four Peaks Place? Approximately what time did you arrive and then leave the scene?
I arrived, it's indicated in my report, and I wouldn't want to hazard a guess because I don't recall.
Don't hazard a
but
guess.
I remained at the scene essentially, as mentioned, to shadow and observe the way these investigations are conducted. I know I was still there when the medical examiner arrived. I know I was still there when Mr. Cox came back, but exactly what time I left, I do not know.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Lori, okay.
And you mentioned you were shadowing Detective Kuntz, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you stay with him the whole time?
Yes.
It will be,
And so you just kind of helped him doing what he was doing?
Yes, and I'm not confident how much I was
it'll be really interesting to see what Colby says about this day because there's so much new information that came out with this.
there helping as much as observing. I didn't actually perform any particular tasks while I was there because, again, I was not on the team yet,
So you were observing mostly?
mostly.
And then did you take notes while you were observing or just
I did not.
physical with the eyes?
I'm just there to
Oh yeah, this part. We did hear this part, but that's funny. Scott. Oh God. Lori. Lord of mercy.
You had mentioned that you had called me on July 12th, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And that I had told you that I had when you asked me about information about JJ's school, I gave that to you, correct?
Correct.
And then I told you that I had the hotel key, is that correct?
Correct.
And you indicated that you'd send someone over to pick it up.
Well, yes, I said I would check with the case agent, and that's probably what would happen.
And then, so did you contact
Why
Detective
did
Moffat
she
and
have the
discuss that with
hotel
him?
key?
I did.
Another thing.
And then he sent you over to the house to get it?
Well, we agreed to go together. Oh, to the house, I'm sorry.
Oh, to come pick up the card key?
Yes, I think we agreed that I would go do that, yes.
Okay, what about time was that? Was that on the 12th?
It was on the 12th. It's in my report. I think it was the 2 o'clock hour.
Okay.
So that also means that the day that he went to like the Burger King and the Walgreens and whatnot was the day after the murder because it's the 12th.
And then you weren't with Detective Moffat at that time?
I was not.
And then when did you guys actually go to the hotel to pick up that stuff?
We went right after that.
Oh, it was immediate?
Yes.
I don't even know how I would begin making a song about Lori. I don't think there's anything that could even do it justice.
How long, Detective, did you analyze all this data before you did your report?
Zombie, maybe.
Well, that could be a complicated question because initially I only looked at the location data I had been provided. And initially we were only dealing with the location data from Mr. Vallow's phone. And then I wasn't heavily involved in the investigation after that point. As I recall, I was actually out of town some, and so I wasn't heavily involved. And then if you advance to some years later when I had learned more how to interpret cell phone records, and those cell phone records still existed, I was asked to look at them and to incorporate them into an overall analysis. So that now we're talking about something that occurred several years
Getting
later.
into door territory?
And the exact
Maybe.
amount of time I spent doing that, I don't know exactly how long that would have been. I still did restrict my analysis to just that one calendar day.
In the first place, and then you got more data later?
I know there is more data, but I have not gone through and done a thorough analysis of all of the data that has been assembled over the course of whatever time frame has been determined to be relevant in this case. I was asked to look at the day of the event.
Okay.
He's answering these questions
But
really
you had
well.
other data in this report that was dated 12/26, is that correct?
Yeah, that seems right.
How long before that 12/26 report did you spend compiling data? That's kind of my question, like
That's kind of my question.
weeks or months or just a few days?
I'm not sure I fully understand that
I
question.
blame
So
you.
when you, if this is what you're asking, when you write, for example, a search warrant to an internet service provider, let's say for somebody's Google or for something similar to that. Once you send that, you just have to wait. And at some point they give it back to you. And then once they give it back to you, you go through it and you see what's contained in that. You save it to the side as evidence, and then you create a copy so you can go through that. And that's what I did. The amount of time I spent doing that, that's not something that we log.
Okay.
Lori?
But your report goes from, I guess, Bates page 88 to 105, so about 8 pages worth of data, yeah? Say?
I'm not sure, is that a question?
No, it's probably not a question. Fuck.
Or maybe it was even longer.
Lori?
Did you go to Lauren's Life Academy at any point?
I did not.
And were you able to identify JJ in the front seat of the car at the Burger King?
I wouldn't say that I can definitely identify him.
That you indicate possible juvenile with short dark hair in front passenger seat. Is that correct?
That's what I was able to see on the video.
Okay.
Yeah, that's different. We can all assume who it is. Dude, well, she kidnapped another child, which is possible. Actually, let's not rule that out. Maybe she kidnapped another child, and that's who was in the front seat getting chicken fries and whatnot. Sprite.
That's all we have, Your Honor.
Great.
All right, redirect.
Redirect.
When you went to the True Hilton Hotel and picked up Olive Charles Vallow's personal property, did you ever review anything from his laptop? Were you provided with extractions from his laptop that you reviewed?
I think I was at one point provided that, yes.
Did you use any of that data from the laptop in creating your PowerPoint?
No,
Did you review anything, any extractions from his iPad?
I don't believe I reviewed the iPad.
So obviously, did you use that in your PowerPoint?
No.
In your understanding, why were you only asked to look at the day of July 11th of 2019?
My understanding specifically was because we were looking at the very significant to us fact that the timelines that we had been told appeared to be inaccurate. The purpose of what I looked at was to examine whether that inaccuracy was supported by or refuted by various different types of location data, video data, other evidence. And again, that's specifically what I looked at is, does it appear that this device, as I had been told, was actually traveling with Miss Vallow, or does it not appear to be the case? And it doesn't matter to me what the outcome was, but as you can see, there are indications that it was. Beyond that, if someone had asked me, oh, well, now there's some relevant question we want you to look at an expanded timeline for, I would have been happy to do so, but I was not asked to do that in this case.
So
I think that's a very
were you
careful answer, because you know what I think? I think it's because it ended up being tied in with Idaho, and that he notice, watch, he looks over at the prosecution. He's very careful with this answer.
As you can see, there are indications that it was. Beyond that, if someone had asked me, oh, well, now there's some relevant question we want you to look at an expanded timeline for, I would have been happy to do so, but
yeah,
I was not asked to do that in this case.
I think he's making sure that he's not answering. I mean, he's very careful with his answers. So
were you trying to determine whether or not it was accurate if you had not or been advised that the shooting occurred just before 911 was called?
Correct.
And did what you learned match up with that?
No, again, as I said, I will say that the device has clearly departed the scene well before the 911 call and does not return until after the 911 call. The distances make it entirely implausible that the device went all that way that quickly, plus the timestamps are logged prior to the event. And so again, I could see only two possible interpretations. Either the shooting happened much earlier than we were told, or the device and the person bearing it, which I understand to be Ms. Vallow, left well before the shooting occurred. I don't see a third option.
Thank you. No other questions?
Beautiful.
Are there any questions for this witness from any member of the jury? I don't see any, sir. You can step down.
Wow,
Thank you.
that's surprising. No jury questions.
All right, members of the jury, I've been informed that a witness that was scheduled for this afternoon has become ill and would not be able to appear this afternoon. So we're going to break early for the day. The schedule for the rest of the week will be 10:30 to 4:30 for Wednesday and Thursday. So plan on 10:30 to 4:30 for both of those days. You're free to go for the rest of the day. Please remember the admonition. We'll see you tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.
All right, so jury.
Okay, so that's a short date. So where's she at objection wise here? She's at. Well, wait, that 17 is how many times she's objected. 148. Wow. Wow. A lot. So, for anyone who missed it, they did see the jury and Karen Reed, and the opening statements are going to start on Tuesday, the 22nd, which should be the same day that Lori begins her case in chief. So that'll be a day. Wow. Just so much wow. So I do have something though that we're going to watch here that is interesting. I hadn't seen this before. So this though is Charles Vallow calling the life insurance company. All right.
Thank you for calling Legal in General. My name is Kevin. May I have your policy number?
Kevin, my name is Charles Vallow. I'm the insured and the agent. I don't have it. I'll give you my social. Can you please give me the policy number?
I'm sure.
I'm doing
Yeah,
a beneficiary change.
Okay, what's your social, please?
Thank God for that.
Yes, as well.
Okay, what's your full name?
Leland Charles Anthony Vallow, or L. Charles Vallow.
Okay, hold on a second, please.
Poor guy. I wonder if that's a bamboo shirt
Can you
though.
verify your date of birth? Address? Your old address. Mhm.
So as people that steal people's identities oftentimes steal them from dead people. So
Okay, wait a second. You said, what's the house number again?
3688.
No, that's not what I have. That's a previous address.
Okay, the J Place.
No.
I don't know what you.
Yeah,
I
I have
really don't.
to authenticate the call
We're in
before.
Hawaii. We were in Hawaii. Was the one in Hawaii?
Okay, this is in Texas, so all I can tell you.
It's 78746.
Okay. Now, what is your password? Just I have a password.
I don't have a password.
Okay. It's telling me that I need to authenticate a password, sir.
I don't have a password. I'm just changing my beneficiary.
Okay.
oh
Hold on a
boy.
second, please.
Oh boy. Hold on. I'm going back because it had another one about Leigh and Carrie.
Get
Hold
a
on.
password, sir.
I don't have a password. I'm just changing my beneficiary.
Okay. Hold on a second,
go.
please. It says that somebody you put in a password here, sir. So I can't proceed without the password.
So I guess it
being
was
confirmed.
Lori.
I had no idea.
Wow. I guess it was Lori that did this, so he couldn't
No.
change the beneficiary. That is insane. That's next level, man.
No.
I don't know what I don't ever remember setting up a password ever.
Wow.
And I'm the agent and the insured.
Okay. Yeah, I would still need to verify that password no matter who you are, because we have to go ahead and.
I don't have a password. How do I get a new password when I never set up one? Can you please tell me that? I know you're doing your job. This is just frustrating for me.
Wow.
I need to change the beneficiary. How do I do it when I don't have a password? I've never set up one. I don't know how else to do one. What do I do?
Wow.
All I need is my policy number.
Okay. I can't send you anything until I actually get that verified. So
You can. So I can't do anything with my policy. I could die today. You would give anybody the money because I don't have a password.
Well, no, that's not.
Tell me what to do to get this done.
Okay. Hold on 1 second for me, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for holding. I do appreciate your time. So this is the best I can do. And I'm sorry because a lot of people are in a meeting. I was trying to get you to somebody. So I'm going to mail a beneficiary form out, okay? And then you'll get that. Is there anything else?
Which address are you mailing it to?
Well, we can't change anything right now because you know.
You have 3300 BK Road, Suite 650.
That's the address that we authenticated you partially with, right?
Okay. And when did I set up a password?
Well, that was recent. It looks like on my note here.
Wow.
I mean, how recent?
It looks like
Month? 6 months? 2 years?
2/20. No, February 20th.
Okay,
this year.
somebody else has called on my account. That's fraud.
I don't know, sir. I mean, that's the thing is that I don't know.
I do know. I haven't called in on this policy in a long time.
Yeah, if you have concerns about that, then you know you need to supply some form of proof or something. But yeah, that's you know, I'll be able to do that. But you can request request in writing.
My wife left me 30 days ago. She's taken a ton of my money. I don't know
Oh
what she's doing this
my
account.
God.
It's fraud. I'm the
Oh
guy.
my God. There it is. Holy shit. There it is.
You know, I'll be able to do that. But you can request request in
my wife
writing.
left me 30 days ago. She's taken a ton of my money.
Oh
I
my
don't know
God.
what she's doing on this account, but it's fraud. I'm the guy. I'm Charles Vallow. I'm the insured and the owner of the policy. Correct?
Right, Candace?
And I need to know what to do right now today to change my beneficiary to my sister.
So what you need to do, sir, is the following, okay? What I would recommend that you do is you send something in writing, letting us know in writing, and I'll give you a fax number or an email address, etc. You need to send something in writing and be as blatant as possible with your concerns, okay? I would be personal in saying that you feel like somebody is trying to take away your information and etc. And that you talk to me, my name's Kevin, and that I could not authenticate you or change your address because the password could not be changed.
That's wild.
Now then what they'll do is they'll go back to the calls, okay, that were made recently.
Right.
They'll go back to the calls that were made recently.
Oh my God.
And then they'll do an investigation on the trend to see if something like that was to happen.
Oh my God.
And
Will they let me know?
Yeah, they'll let you know.
Oh,
You
my
got to
God.
put your.
I bet they got it. They had a phone call. Lori. Hi, I'm stupid Lori. I just want to I'm just trying to murder somebody for money. So like I need to create this password. Oh my God.
Contact. You got to put your contact information in, etc. And then they'll let you know. Yes.
I'll put my new address. I'll put my new phone number.
Yeah.
And
email address.
I've not added the password.
Email address.
I've not added a password or anything to my account.
I mean, the thing is this, right? Change the how to put it. The urgency with which he felt the need to change his beneficiary shows that he had a feeling that she could kill him, right? I mean, and we know we've seen the whole thing with Ned Schneider and the body cam, but like, it's one thing to be like kind of afraid, but it's another, like changing your beneficiary on your life insurance policy is like that is a whole different level of like, someone's going to try to kill me and I'm planning on dying and want to make sure the money, you know what I mean? Like that is insane. Imagine how scary that must have been. Oh God, it's just awful.
Somebody else has been messing with my account. Please discontinue any use and speak only with Charles Vallow or KF Kathleen Ethel Woodcock, the owner and beneficiary. Can I do something like that?
Yeah, right. And then you want to mention my name, that you spoke to Kevin and he could not authenticate me.
What's your last name, Kevin?
Della Rosa, DELAROSA.
Could not authenticate password.
I'm sorry?
Poor guy. It's just
Okay, I put on there that Kevin
Yeah.
Rosa could not authenticate password.
Yeah, password that was listed on the account. And you're requesting to have an investigation done because you feel like somebody is trying, if somebody, you have to be personal. You have to say, I think you just used the word your ex-wife or your wife is trying to take away, and you say a brief synopsis that, she's
I need
taking
to have an
your money.
investigation done.
Yeah, because you fear your wife is trying to.
Password was authorized in this account, and I did not do it.
Yeah, but don't just leave it like that because, you just told me that it was your wife. If you feel like that's something personal, you need to say that so that we can go ahead and put this under investigation and review. People will go back and call and review calls that were made before
They
to
will
see
do the
what
calls
happened.
and they will hear Lori on the phone.
But
Hi,
we'll
Okay.
just leave it like that in
Thanks,
the air
Lori.
because,
And I'm going to email it. I'm going to fax it today, or can I email it?
yeah, I can give you an email or a fax.
Give me an email. I'll
Okay.
do this right now.
Yeah, customer service at bannerlife.com. That's customer service at bannerlife.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for calling Legal in General and enjoy your day, sir. I'm sorry about that.
Appreciate it. Bye.
We got more follow-up calls.
Thank you for calling Legal in General. My name is Pam. Can I have your policy number?
Pam, I'm the agent and the owner of the policy insured. Name is Charles Vallow. He is in Victor, A-L-L-O-W.
The other thing that's so crazy that we just learned from that last witness is like it's entirely like there are only one or two possibilities, right? Either he was shot and killed way before the 911 call, or he was shot and killed closer to the 911 call, but Lori wasn't there, which is just so mind blowing to think about, right? Oh my God.
Social. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
What's probably Alex, please?
Okay. Okay, so you're calling, whose social is that?
It's mine, the owner, and the agent.
Okay. Charles. Can I have your mailing address, please?
Redacted.
Let me just check. You changed it with a customer service representative?
Yes, ma'am. This morning, about more than an hour ago.
Absolutely. Frank's also welcome back. By the way,
Now, did you change it as an agent or as a policy owner?
did
I'm
you
not
have the members only set up too for my mom's concert? I think that's in like a little under an hour.
seeing.
Both.
Wow. Listen to that. Did you change it as an agent or a policy owner? Both. Wow. Wow.
Now, did you change it as an agent or as a policy owner? I'm not seeing.
Both.
Do you know who you spoke to?
I didn't write it down, ma'am. I realized I had to. Usually when I call, you guys take care of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to see if
Wow.
that was passed. Let me just see. One moment.
Well, here's my question. We'll go back
Okay.
to that, the address.
Okay.
In a minute. I got on my banking statement, it says stop payment reviewed, item paid, Banner Life, 50750. Why would a stop payment be put on that? Who did that?
Okay. No, stop payment on.
The premium payment, the automatic, the EFT.
It's set to draft. It just drafted on February 15th. It's going to draft again on March 15th.
But why does it say on the banking statement, stop payment reviewed?
I don't have an answer for you on that. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you because that one, there's nothing noted here to stop payment. It's very everything.
We're in good shape. We're good. I appreciate your time. Thank you very
All
much.
right, sir, but your address, do you want me to
Okay.
because what we have
Yeah.
here, let's see, the Bees
My
Cove
business
Road.
address is my business address is okay. My home address, I have two homes. My home address is in Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay, so all correspondence are going to go to the 3300 B Cove Road. If I change that, all yours as an agent will go to that address too. I
That's
think.
fine. I still get mail at both places.
Okay, all right, you're all good then.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I've got. Is there any kind of identity lock or something I can put on my anybody that calls in on my policy so I can? I'm changing the insured to my sister, for my special needs son
Oh my God.
as administrator.
Breaking.
Can I put a lock or something, a code they have to give if anybody calls to ask about my policy? Is that possible? Will you guys do that?
Right. So I can put a special password.
Right.
So you have to remember that because every time you call, you have to repeat that. All right. All right. Let me have your
So just to clarify, this
recorded.
is not the reason the password was changed, because he's talking to her and he said, I just spoke to the customer service rep this morning. That's Kevin. So she's now having him put a password on it like what Lori did to him.
Good number? Or 5
Absolutely.
You give no information to anyone that has that doesn't have that password.
Absolutely. That's what that's there for. So every time you call,
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. You have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you for your help. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for calling Legal and General America. This is Lakshmi speaking. May I have your policy number, please?
I don't have a policy number. I'm the policy owner. I'm the agent and policy owner.
Okay.
I give my socials for.
Social.
I'm speaking to Mr. Charles Vallow.
That's just me. Just can you email me a beneficiary change form, please? And tell me who the beneficiaries are on the policy now.
Okay, let me pull the policy first. Hold on for a few seconds. So the primary beneficiary, can I also verify your address?
Pardon me?
Can I verify your address? What was your previous address?
Queen Creek, Arizona 85142.
We have your Austin address still.
Austin, Texas 78746. Can you change it to the Arizona address, please?
Okay. But since you are also an agent, you need to send that information to our licensing department, and you can email it to them or fax it to them. I can give you that information.
That's fine. Can you just email me a beneficiary change form is all I need on my policy.
Can I get your email
and policy number charles.vallow, first name dot last name at gmail.com.
Okay. Okay, I just emailed you the form. You should be receiving that in a few seconds.
Sure. Thank you very much. Can you notify? Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, we have another good one here, guys. So next up, there's so many of these videos. I mean, there's just so many. Like, I've never seen these. Some of these didn't come in at trial, or I mean, so far, none of these, like the one we just watched, nor this one, have come in. So this is Adam's phone call to a detective. All right.
I understand that Lori's your sister, and obviously I was assigned the death investigation. I'm just trying to get, I guess, any type of insight that you might have.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot there. About maybe a year or two ago, Lori started reading some books and near-death experience books, and started saying some weird things. Yeah, I don't know if you know a lot about the LDS religion, but we're LDS, and so she started, I think, listening to podcasts and some people who were LDS and now have been excommunicated from our church.
Okay.
And so she started following them, and then she started saying some really weird things. And my son moved there and was living with her and Charles.
Okay.
And he heard some of the same weird things that I did. And so some of those things were that she, talks to Jesus in the temple, and she's married to Moroni, and she's not married to Charles anymore, and that she has a higher priesthood than the rest of us, and just some things that were alarming to me. And because I told her that I thought those were alarming, and she goes, "You think I'm crazy, don't you?" And I was like, "I don't know if you're crazy, but none of that makes any sense."
I think
to
that's
me.
been confirmed by.
And after I told her that, she cut me off, and me and her were closer than anybody in the family.
Okay.
And she just stopped talking to me altogether. I haven't talked to her in over a year and a half.
Okay.
And then she cut off some of my family from communication as well when they thought that she was saying some things, and she just went off onto some other tangent. And so she's with another group that is called Preparing for the End or something like that. But the things that caught me that were shocking was her telling Charles that Charles is dead, and she knows that there was another guy named Ned that was living in Charles's body, and he was an inch shorter, and that Charles couldn't fool her anymore because he was an inch shorter. It was really alarming to me that she said Charles was dead and that some guy named Ned was living in her body. She talks about people having dark spirits that she can see, and she knows who has dark spirits and when there's dark spirits around, and just a lot of crazy stuff. And so when I told my family, I was like, "Look, I'm really concerned about Lori. I think she needs to go to a psychiatrist, or something needs to be happening." And my mom and dad had told me, they said, "Well, she's disconnected from reality because that's the only reality that she feels she can live in, and she's not hurting anybody." And when they told me that, I was like,
Wow.
"Okay, well, maybe I'll just stay away. I won't try to confront her."
That again, holy shit. So we're getting more details here than what we've gotten in these trials.
She's disconnected from reality because that's the only reality that she feels she can live in.
Wow.
And she's not hurting anybody. And when they told me that, I was like, "Okay, well."
Okay, I do agree. She is disconnected from reality because she's living in a reality that's the only one she can live in. I think that's accurate. Again, it was a choice that she made, but she's obviously hurting people.
Maybe I'll just stay away. I won't try to confront her because Charles, for about a year, or after they got divorced or were going to get divorced, called me and saying, "I'm telling you, your sister has gone off the deep end." And I said, "What?" So he told me all the things that she had told him, and he would just call me sobbing, crying because he didn't have the same wife anymore, didn't have the same Lori. And my whole family cut him off because Lori told them, "Do not talk to Charles." Okay. And I was the only one that took Charles's phone calls, and I live in Kansas. Gotcha. And I felt bad for Charles. And so I said, "Charles, I'll do what I can to help, and Lori won't talk to me because she thinks I think she's crazy." So, anyways, through all this, Charles said, "Well, something has to be done because she thinks that she talked Melanie, who's our niece, and she's part of this group now where they go and they're preparing for the end of the world or something." And so she's got her on this, and then she said that her husband was gay, that she went to the temple and prayed about it, that he's gay, and Brandon is not gay. So Melanie left Brandon and just divorced him, and Lori said, "Oh yeah, I prayed about it, he's gay." So Brandon was upset that Lori's interfering with their life. So Charles had told me Lori is ruining people's lives.
So we just watched Melanie's interview the other day, and we were talking about how it was so interesting that Lori, right. Yeah, it's all so clear. It's all coming together. Lori was responsible for splitting them up. This is what we were thinking at the time. Okay. But we didn't have this information yet, that Lori was responsible for splitting up Melanie and Brandon because she wanted, she needed the money from Brandon and like the divorce alimony or whatever. And we know they also attempted to kill him, right? That's her next trial, is attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux, right? So, oh my God. So, but the whole thing, like we heard Melanie talking to the detective and saying about how she found all this stuff and he's gay or whatever. This is new information that I didn't have, that came from Lori, that Lori prayed about it, and God told her that Brandon is gay. And then she told that to Melanie. Holy shit. Holy shit.
So she's got her on this, and then she said that her husband was gay, that she went to the temple and prayed about it, that he's gay, and Brandon is not gay. So Melanie left Brandon and just divorced him, and Lori said, "Oh yeah, I prayed about it, he's gay." So Brandon was upset that Lori's interfering with their lives. So Charles had told me Lori is ruining people's lives by just, saying stupid, crazy things. And so he goes, something's got to be done. So he wanted me to fly out there and meet with the stake president, because I know their stake president in our church. And I said, all right, I'll go out there and meet. And he says, I'll just put you on my miles and I'll fly you out there, but don't tell Lori or tell your family that I'm flying you out there, or Lori will run. She won't talk to you. And I was like, okay. So I flew out to Arizona and I stayed with my mom and dad, and I told them that I got the airline tickets from my wife, Nicole, that she put it on her points, right? So while I'm there in Arizona, I'm at my mom and dad's house, and Charles was supposed to go pick up JJ on Thursday morning. Well, he texts me like it's 7:30 in the morning, and he said, Alex is here. And back up a little bit, on Tuesday, I called Alex and I said, hey, because me and Charles, it was getting my ticket. I said, hey, I'm coming to Arizona. Him and I used to spend time together, and he comes out here. He's a truck driver, and he's also sucked into Lori's whatever she tells him. He believes, and so he's listening to all these podcasts, and he's fallen into whatever she says. He's all about it. And so I said, look, I'd like to spend some time with you. How about if I spend the night at your house instead of mom and dad's house? He said, yeah, I'll go buy a mattress and a blow-up mattress so you can stay in my room, in one of his bedrooms. And I said, oh, that'd be great. So I get in on Wednesday.
Okay.
And I called Alex, and he never answers the phone or returns any of my calls. And I thought, that's really weird. So I spent the night at my mom and dad's that night. And I asked him, I said, well, what are you doing home? And he goes, I took this week off. I said, well, why'd you take the week off? He goes, I don't know, I'm just working around the house. And usually when my brother takes a week off of vacation, he goes to Colombia to be with women. Okay. So I thought it was very strange that he took a whole week off just to hang out at his house. I said, that doesn't make any sense. So when Charles texts me, Alex is here, I said, that sounds weird. Why is he at Lori's house? I said, be on the lookout or something. They could be up to something. And Charles texted me back, absolutely. So next thing I know, Charles would call me and text me all the time, like during the week. And I was the only one that would talk to him. And I felt, he just was distraught over this whole thing with Lori. So Thursday, after he texted all that, I drove my mom and dad to the temple and dropped him off in car, and I went and got my son, and we hang out. And I didn't hear from him all day Thursday. And I thought, well, that's really weird. So I called. I think I either texted him or called him, and he didn't answer. And then on Friday, same thing. I called him, texted him, and I said, it's just so weird that I haven't heard from Charles. I wonder what's wrong with Charles. And where is he? What's he doing? I haven't heard from him. And that whole day went by. Well, Saturday, me and my son went to Tucson to hang out with my friend Eric. So as we drove to Tucson, I thought, I have a really bad feeling in my stomach. Like, what would happen if Charles went in? And I literally told this to my son, and then when I got to Tucson, I told this to my friend. I said, what if Alex and Lori did something to Charles? And because he doesn't have his phone, and he's always on his phone. Mm-hmm. And I said, I have a sick feeling. So when I went to Tucson, I told my friend Eric, I was like, I don't know, there's something really weird going on, because I told him the whole situation, and Charles had not called. And I said, this is really weird. And so Eric, on a whim, Googles Charles's name. He goes, well, what's his name? I said, Charles Vallow. And he says, it says here that he got shot and killed by his brother-in-law in Chandler. I said, what? And I read the article. I broke down and started crying because I said, I felt like something was wrong. And Eric was like, oh my, I mean, we were literally in shock. Nobody called me. Not my mom and dad, not my brother, not my sister. My sister Summer was in New York at the time. So, and my son Zach was watching my sister Summer's dog. We were in charge of her house.
So we heard about some of this in his testimony. Vishal says, can you fake it till you make it in marriage? What does that even mean? Asking for a friend. What does that mean?
So I drove home, and I was talking to my mom and dad when I was driving home. I was like, we got to talk. And my mom got all mad at me. And she goes, we sure do. And so when I got to my mom and dad's house, Tylee was there. And Tylee was standing at the edge of the counter. And she was.
This is the kitchen day. I wonder if there's going to be any mention of the green chili chicken enchiladas. Oh, having said that, Adam did come out after he testified and said he's literally never had those before. He has no idea what she was on about. He's like, Lori never made those before. Like, I have no idea where that came from. He said he did have an uncle or somebody else that made them, but not Lori. So
quiet, and Tylee's always hugging me and saying hi to me. She looked like she did not want to say a word to me.
Wow.
And was just talking to my mom. Me and Zach, my son, came in and sat down, and they had a conversation between the two of them without me being able to hear what they were saying. And then my mom, Tylee and my mom. Okay. And so Tylee and my mom, then my mom walked Tylee to the end of the hallway, and Tylee left, got in her Jeep and left.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom came in and she goes, "How dare you not, say anything to her after what she's been through?"
Wow. Okay. So Adam testified, I believe it was on day 4. And so we're getting a lot more information though than obviously what came in at trial about the context of all of these interactions. It's very interesting. Wow.
Yeah, no, Tylee and my mom. Okay. And so Tylee and my mom, then my mom walked Tylee to the end of the hallway, and Tylee left, got in her Jeep and left. And my mom came in and she goes, "How dare you not, say anything to her after what she's been through?"
Wow.
And then I snapped and I screamed. I said, "Charles is dead, and nobody in the family has said a word about it, and it's been 3 days."
Wow.
And then my mom snapped on me and said, "Get your stuff and get out."
Wow.
And so,
wow.
My mom and my mom and my dad have a great relationship. We have never fought. We've never cursed at each other. We've never had any problems. That for like 30 minutes in their house, we screamed at each other.
Wow.
It just all came out. I was so mad that nobody told me that Alex shot Charles and what happened. And nobody told me anything about what happened. And so when that went down, me and Zach got our stuff and we went over to Summer's house, and I called Summer. And I told Summer what happened. I said, "You don't know that Charles is dead?" And she goes, "No." But I knew that she did because the way that she reacted. So my mom told me on Friday when I was at their house, she said, "I know that you and Charles were texting and emailing. I saw every text and every email that you were trying to get Lori in trouble at the church." And that shocked me because I said, "Well, how could you have,
wow.
Charles got shot and the phone is there and the police got the phone, how did you have time to go through every text and every email that me and Charles had?" Which makes me believe that, in my opinion, my theory is that Lori and Alex got together, and Lori convinced Alex that Charles is not Charles anymore, that he is this guy named Ned, and that they shot him. I don't even think there was a fight or anything. I just think that because Charles texted me at 7:33 and went into the house. And then from what I read on the reports or whatever, it says that the police were called at 8 or something about him getting shot. And I thought, why would Alex be at Lori's anyways? And why would he have a gun in the house? And why wouldn't he call 911? Charles is not going to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to go crazy on anybody. And Alex is an expert shooter. He's got tons of guns. He goes shooting all the time. He knows how to kill somebody. And he shot 2 shots to his chest to make sure he wasn't dead. And then, or to make sure he was dead. And this was my theory.
Yeah.
And then try to cover it up by trying to do mouth to mouth. Who does mouth to mouth after someone tries to kill you and then you shoot them? I mean, there's so many things that don't.
Incredible that this is Adam's instinct was literally exactly what ended up happening, right? Like, amazing.
There's so many red flags that, and I don't know if you can. There's proof of anything, but did Alex get hit with a baseball bat?
Wow.
He has an injury to the back of his head. Now he alleges it was from the baseball bat.
Yeah.
I can't prove one way or another right now whether or not it was, but he alleges that
we thought official.
Charles,
I remember you were there. specifically, but we watched that. We watched Alex's interview with law enforcement, and there's a point where you can see the back of his head really easily. And it's a little cut. It looks like he got nicked, like with it, like cutting his hair. That was what officials said. I was like, oh my God, that totally looks like it. Yeah, this is Alex and Lori's brother who testified again on like day 4, Adam. And he's awesome. He has like a podcast now with Grunkle Rex. And so he's, I think the older brother to Alex and Lori. He's a pro pickleball player now. Welcome, Kane. Twas but can't speak. Twas but a flesh wound. Yes, y'all was off. Yes, exactly. Have good luck at work, Kane. Good luck at work. So yeah, Lori's brother, because Alex and Lori are brother and sister, so he's their brother. Yes. And he's not crazy, and he's actually an awesome regular person. With a podcast and everything. And yeah. The incestuous. So we listened to, again, the other day, we listened to the phone call. Alex's ex-wife called in. That was so interesting. Were any of you guys there for that? Alex's ex-wife called law enforcement to talk about what she thought was going on between Alex and Lori. And boy, oh boy, did she have a lot to share. That was all the tea. If we have time before the members only live stream, maybe we'll listen to that again. She had all the tea about the weird family, but the incestuous relationship and all kinds of stuff. So Adam is, I would say, mildly LDS. He's not there's different levels, right, of LDS. There's people that, what do they call them? Like Jack Mormons or something, which means like you're in your family's LDS and like you're raised LDS, but like you're not like a really super into it LDS person. I think Adam's in that category. Same with Grunkle Rex. I think Colby is like a little bit more religious than they are, and they seem to be less religious. Yeah, so y'all were there for that call. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It was very wild and gross. Yes, it was. Oh, sorry.
Hit him in the back of the head with a baseball bat.
And so did he get a concussion or did he go to the hospital? Was there stitches?
There was a cut to the back of the head. He did not go to the hospital. So we brought him back here and interviewed him. And then, not having any reason, at least at the time, to hold him, released him from there. The reason that I'm positive they were able to see all of your texts and emails is because Lori had Charles's phone, and we had to get it back from her shoot a couple hours after she was released, so she had time to go through his phone.
But my mom knew about this on Friday.
Yeah. But they had Charles's phone when she left.
Okay. So I just have to say, that's really interesting. So her having, okay. Oh my God, the context that this is giving for what we just saw from the cell phone dude. Okay. What we haven't gotten into is how much shit was deleted, but now it's all making sense based on what he just said. Holy shit. That Lori took Charles's phone and had it with her. And, again, it was pretty incriminating because she had the location data on. She wasn't thinking about location data. I bet she was deleting these messages. Holy shit. Of course, not knowing that they potentially could still be retrieved. Wow. If they were not able to recover those deleted messages, then that makes Adam's testimony on, again, I think it was day 4, even more important, because it could be the only way. Like, it could be the only thing to verify, right? Wow. And that's really important in terms of the conspiracy, right? Because the whole thing was with Alex and Lori, and like his instinct was correct, right? As soon as he knew that Alex was over there at the house with Lori, he was like, talking to Charles, like something bad's going to happen. Like he knew it right away. This is insane. Did she delete the text messages? Holy fuck. Wow. Just wow. Cool. Oh, he isn't? Okay, he's just Christian, I guess. Thank you for that, Happy Annie. I just know he's religious. I just, assumed it was all LDS. Yeah.
She left
wow.
her house And then it came back. She dropped JJ off at school sometime around this incident. She says right after the incident happened, she was in a panic and left and took JJ to school and then came back. We brought her down and interviewed her, Tylee, and Alex, and then released them from here. And then as we were processing the scene, we're like, well, where's Charles's phone? So we called Lori, and she's like, oh, I have it, and brought it back to us a couple hours later. So she had his phone on Thursday, right after the incident for, 4 hours.
Just to let you know, Charles never leaves his phone anywhere. He's always has it with him. Yeah. So for her to say that he left it there and she got his phone, that did not happen. Yeah. That did not happen. Charles has his phone on him all the time. So, which then believes that they had planned something and Charles walked in. So how is Tylee, what did she, I don't even know what happened. Like, none of my family has talked to me because supposedly I was on Charles's side to try to get Lori help. My whole family has not told me one thing about this incident.
Wow.
So what the report was is that Al basically stayed the night there the night before and they were planning on going and doing something for the day, him, Lori, and Tylee. That Charles came and got JJ and basically got into a screaming match and was yelling and screaming at Lori. And then they say that Tylee basically brought a baseball bat out from her room and was kind of standing next to Lori, and had it kind of holding it in defense of Lori.
Official, you were 16, going on 17. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I love that you quick referenced that song. The Sound of Music was my very first musical. I was Gretel, the youngest Von Trapp in kindergarten.
As Charles was yelling at her, you see that Charles yanked the baseball bat out of her hand, that Alex got involved and basically intervened during that altercation. Alex got hit with the bat. He went back to his room, got the gun, and then came back and basically challenged Charles. Charles came after him with the bat again, and that's when he shot and killed him.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. That just is like... And did Tylee see the whole thing?
They say that she was, they said that she was just outside of the house at the time the shooting happened, is where she puts herself.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. None. Zero.
Yep.
That is like, and this is my brother and sister, and I love them with all my heart. But I'm telling you, there's something wrong about Lori and Alex and this belief that they have. And, Lori thinks that death is nothing. And it's odd that Joe, her ex-husband, supposedly died of a heart attack when they were desperate for money. And he left her.
Oh boy, let it all out. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Lori thinks that death is nothing. And it's odd that Joe, her ex-husband, supposedly died of a heart attack when they were desperate for money. And he left her $50,000 and Tylee gets $2,000. And then Charles has a $2 million. There's a lot of red flags for me. And that story does not make sense. Charles does not leave his phone anywhere.
Yeah.
So which makes me believe that is there cameras at the houses around there that could see the street or anything?
I found one Ring doorbell, but I think the fence was outside of it, so I haven't been able to find a single camera in the neighborhood that would help me walk through a timeline of any of this.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, I have the same, just the what if they brought him there to set him up type thing, and I just don't.
Yeah.
It's a matter of making our way through it. So.
Yeah, to me, it's just I don't. You don't have to shoot and kill Charles. You call 911. He's not going to, it's just, all of it sounds way too crazy to me.
Yeah.
And set up and staged. Al, he lives so close to them, he doesn't have to spend the night at Lori's house. He could drive over there and they can go somewhere during the day. That's definitely a lie.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can prove it or what the proof can be. That's the whole problem is I'm sure they plan. I don't know if you can, if they've ever emailed each other or text each other, or they just planned this out by just talking. I don't know, but there's got to be somewhere where they've talked this through, because Lori and Alex planned Joe's death. And Lori found out that Joe molested her kids, supposedly. And Alex got upset, and Al said, I'll take care of him. And then they planned out how they were going to kill Joe. And and Al was going to taser him, throw him in the trunk, and take him out to a field and shoot him, and then bury him. Well, Al went to taser him, and it didn't work, and Joe called the cops, and Al went to jail for 12 months. Yeah. So there's something with Lori and Alex that neither one of them are. Well, Alex is excommunicated from the church, and so he believes Lori, because Lori's like, it doesn't matter what you do in this world. All you have to do is have a body, and you can be saved. You're just here to get a body. And Al loves that, because then he can go sin and do whatever he wants. So he loves to hear what Lori has to tell him.
Wow.
And so
my theory about the bat is, I think that Alex brought, this whole thing was planned. Alex brought the bat because they had to try to figure out a way to make Charles seem like a threat. And the first thing was, he was semi-pro baseball. I think Alex brought the bat. Remember, Charles didn't live there. Charles didn't bring a bat. I think Alex brought the bat, and the bat was just going to be there so they could then tell this whole story. That's my thought on the bat. And then I think that Charles came in, and then Alex ambushed him with the gun.
I'm just telling you, man to man, and I love my family, but justice, poor Charles, he didn't deserve to die at all. He was so upset about the way Lori was doing that, and so the way that she changed, the things that she said, and the odd behavior, and just, I was the only one that would sit and listen to him cry and be upset about it, and everybody listened to Lori and my family, and just, they shut him off. He couldn't talk to anybody, and he paid for everybody in the family.
Wow.
He paid for everybody's phone. He bought cars. I mean, even my mom and dad. And it's just odd that my mom sent my wife a text on Friday. She didn't tell us that Charles was dead. She didn't tell us anything was happening. She knew that I flew out there on Charles's point.
That's funny.
And she sent a message to my wife going, "Thank you so much for sending Adam out here using your points to fly out." Why would she say that?
Right.
I think my mom knows something, and she's trying to cover up for those two.
Oh, wow.
And Tylee definitely has to know something. And it doesn't make any sense that JJ's in the car when this whole thing happened. And after you shoot somebody, you get in the car and you drive to take him to school.
Yeah.
And you probably know all this.
I share them with you. Yeah. I share them with you. So.
And I don't know if you've seen the emails that Charles sent, but he talks about all the crazy things that Lori has said, to him.
He got a copy of an order of protection petition that he got that outlined some of those allegations.
And he went to our stake president, and there's a lot of stuff. And then I guess they had $10,000 in cash somewhere for an emergency, and Lori took $7,100 out and tried to blame Charles and said that he took it. And I don't know. I just feel like they're trying to get Charles's, and I don't know, Charles tried to get a divorce from Lori, and she disappeared for 58 days. Nobody knew where she was.
Okay. I just wanted to pull up real quick the footage I was talking about where you can see the back of his head.
Yeah.
Okay, just normal. Okay, but there's nothing.
Obviously, may not be visible.
Your neck's pretty red, but that's normal, right?
What's up?
I just wanted.
Right there. There it is. Oops, sorry. Hold on. They even make a joke about him.
Sure. So you're pretty.
Yeah, that's more from driving when the sun's always on my neck. Yeah, you can't ever get enough shade. No, driving the truck.
All right. So
that's
all I need. Right?
Come on, let's go. Yes.
Okay.
So there you go. Look at that goose egg. Funny, Twez.
Not her family. She didn't tell anybody in her family. She didn't tell anybody. Because she didn't want Charles to actually divorce her. And I think it's because she wanted to keep that policy alive.
Yeah. Oh, God. This is just awful.
And so that just, all the behavior is so strange that nobody in the family, not even her daughter, knew where she was. And she was in Hawaii apparently this whole time.
Yeah, and Tylee was staying with Alex at the time, right?
Oh, that's when okay, that came up in the trial, and I was like, wait, why was Tylee staying with Alex? That's why Tylee was staying with Alex, because Lori went to Hawaii without her.
So those three are thicker than thieves, but I bet you Tylee could break if you got to her. I don't know what she would say, or
Is Tylee still alive at this point? Wow.
But gosh, there's something that's really wrong about that.
Yeah, I like I said, we have.
Clearly, yeah, I should have mentioned. Clearly, this is before the kids. This is soon after everything happened with Charles, but before the kids. I guess anyone knows they're missing or anything. There's anything with that, right?
A lot of concerns, and it's been going through. Like I have Charles's phone now, so I've been going through the phone because he had said that he was going to record his interaction with her. But there isn't a recording. So.
Oh my God! Did you guys hear that? Charles was going to record his interaction with Lori that day, and there's not a recording. Oh my God! Did she delete it? Holy fuck! This is crazy.
It's been going through, like I have Charles's phone now, so I've been going through the phones because he said that he was going to record his interaction with her, but there isn't a recording. So, I don't know if they deleted it or if he didn't actually run the recorder.
Well, tell you what, there's an incentive right there. If like we said, Lori had the phone and it's like, oh yeah, she was deleting their communications. Boy, oh boy, if that wasn't enough incentive, him having recording. And remember, it's so funny, right? Because there's always some truth in some, like Lori comes in for her interview and what is she all upset about? The phone, dude. Wow.
I don't know.
Is there a way to get deleted messages or deleted things or no?
We're able to restore some of them, but his phone, like he said, he was on it all the time. His phone's 80 gigabytes worth of data.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, there's just so much in there that it's mind numbing to sit and try to go through it. And I actually met with one of our computer forensic guys on Friday, and then ended up getting called away for something different. But me, to see if he could find like something that I might be missing in the download of the phone and stuff. So
well, I know that was the thing because people weren't believing him, and Lori said that he had an affair, and so some girl called him, and I said, I want to believe Lori. And I said, well, I didn't get to talk to her, but this is what she told my mom. And I was like, well, I would like to see the receipt that supposedly he had, sex with prostitutes. And I also would like to hear from the girl that called Lori. And my mom was like, well, that's not none of your business. I said, yeah, but if you want me to believe that Charles had an affair, because Charles cried to me and swore to me that he didn't. And I believe him.
Yeah.
And maybe he's lying. I don't know. But the way that Lori has been telling fibs and crazy things out of her mouth, I don't believe one thing that comes out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Huh. So, yeah. I mean, that's a situation. And so, I mean, I literally lost my family over this. My mom and dad will not talk to me. They told me to get out of their house, me and my son both, who we were like the most loved in our family by everybody. And because I have logic, normal logic, you want to be on your family's side, but when right is right, right's right, and wrong is wrong. Yeah. And for them to believe that, oh, Al's a hero, he saved Tylee. Charles would never hurt anybody like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
looking into it, it doesn't seem like Charles has ever had any type of violent past whatsoever.
No, none. It's to me, Lori and Alex planned this out. They knew Charles was coming to get JJ. Somehow, Tylee was in her room or somewhere or outside or whatever. They shot him. They killed him. And I don't know if it was for money or if they thought he was that evil spirit named Ned. And Lori can't deny any of that. Wow. She said that to a lot of people. And so, I mean, I don't know,
that seems like it's both, but also what Adam doesn't know about is Chad.
That's what I know. And that's, I know there's a lot of red flags, and I know in court, you probably can't prove things on red flags, but there's got to be something about that baseball bat. I even think that Lori hit Alex with the baseball bat after they killed Charles.
Yeah, well, yeah, that possibility is definitely there. I mean, Charles is even for his age was in great shape, and you know, you could tell it wasn't. It didn't appear to be that type of injury of a grown man swinging a bat. Like I said, when they got back to drop off the phone, Al hadn't even gone to the hospital. He had some medical tape basically around the cut on the back of his head, and that's that. So
there's a lot. I just want to make sure that you got my side, my wife's side, because she also it just all my friend Eric that knows everybody that lives in Tucson. Everybody's gut feeling is that, you know, this was not self-protection from Al.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have spent the night. He shouldn't have taken that week off of work. I mean, when you think about it, it was literally planned out for this whole thing to happen. In my opinion.
Yeah. No, like I said, I have the same concern. So we're still actively investigating it and going through it all. And have you heard? I guess you haven't really talked to your mom and them. I don't know if Lori has moved from that house, if she's staying at Al's house, if she's even still in the Phoenix area. I don't have any idea where she is right now.
From what I heard from my mom, who talks to my uncle and aunt, that she's changed her story 3 times. And my uncle, my 2 uncles both say they know that's not the right story.
Gotcha.
And so my mom, and she was so distraught when I got back. Like, because I literally yelled, I said, Alex and Lori murdered Charles. And she looked at me and her eyes got all big. Like I said something that, you know, well, but that could be anything, you know, but still, I couldn't believe it. And so the family, the cousins and the uncles and everybody, they understand the history with Lori and Alex and Lori's ex-husbands.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole pattern of things there. So nobody in my family believes what's happened. And I think even my dad didn't even know. My mom didn't tell my dad. Apparently Lori had a family meeting at her house on Saturday and told my mom and dad, or told my dad, because my mom already knew on Friday.
Huh.
And so then my dad found out about it. And then my sister Summer's like, yeah, Al's a hero. Because the story that Al and Lori tell the family is one thing, but I'm sure that they got that phone immediately and started, you know, going through his phone after they shot and killed him. He didn't leave his phone.
Yeah.
So, and the timeline is 7:30. I think the last text I got from him, it was right around 7:30 in the morning. And then I think the phone, from what I read on the newspaper, was like at 8 o'clock or somewhere after 8.
Yeah.
He was caught. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but that's what I know.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I have all your information, and I'm trying to figure out the best way. Do you think Al would ever take a call from you?
No.
He could just avoid you.
Yeah, my whole family will avoid me. Nobody will talk to me because there's an investigation going on, and so they don't want to say a word to me. I guarantee that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just be curious to see what Al's side of the story is to a third. You know what I mean? To
another party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering. For none of them to tell me anything that happened, like I just heard it from you for the first time because Kay had told me a little bit about what was said because I talked to Charles's sister Kay, and I feel bad for her too.
Yeah, because she's JJ's grandma, correct?
Yeah, and she told me that. So I think my Uncle Rex said that Al, after that happened, went to Columbia, or my mom told somebody that Al went to Columbia. And then he came back. Because then Brandon, the one that's Melanie's divorcing, said that Al was at Melanie's house on Saturday putting her fans in, ceiling fans in.
Okay.
He goes, Al's out in Columbia. He's here. So maybe he went for a couple days, or maybe he didn't go at all. And then my uncle said that my mom said that Kay wanted to go fly JJ down for Charles's funeral. And nobody the weird thing about it is that when I was at my house on Saturday morning, and me and my mom and dad had to sit down, and it was a yelling match, and then it got calm, and we tried to talk through things, and then it got to be yelling again. While we were sitting there, not one time did my mom or dad say anything about how terrible it is or sorry that Charles was shot. They were all like, what a piece of crap trying to hurt.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's another red flag that nobody, like my sister, nobody wants to go to the funeral. I had planned a vacation in Los Angeles with my son. So we were in there when we told Kay that she said she was having a thing for Charles. But then when Kay called Lori's like, no, we're busy. We're getting ready to move to Hawaii. So we don't have time to have JJ go down there and back. And then, so that was something that Kay had told my wife, Nicole. And so she didn't let JJ go to her own, Lori didn't let JJ go to Charles's funeral.
Right.
In Louisiana.
Yeah.
And then my mom said, or told Lori or Kay, I can't remember where it was, but that they were going to move to Hawaii, but then now Lori has a job at a gym, and she's working at a gym. So, I mean, I've heard a lot of different things. So I literally am in the dark because nobody, they cut me and my son off from all social media. And my son is their favorite. Everybody, the greatest kid in the world.
And what's so funny that he's talking about this, because just earlier today, Glory was talking about wanting to call his son wanted to send him a subpoena, right? And like, dude, the judge shut that down because it's like, you can't just be sending all these nonsensical subpoenas. And like, he questioned her, like, what is the relevance? And it's like, there isn't any. And anyway, it's just a freaking mess. But, wow. So we will finish this. Here's the thing. So starting in 1 minute, we are going to actually, it should shuttle you guys on over, y'all that are members. So as by request, guys, we are going to be watching my mom's concert for members here. It's starting in about 6 minutes. My brother is sending me the link for the live stream. I got that all set up. It's a miracle. It'll be my 5th live stream today. So for those of you guys who are members, feel free to pop on over. And this concert is happening live. So shout out to Schmammers, which is what I call my mom. And yeah, they're doing anthems for social change. So that should be really cool. And for anyone who saw the thumbnail, that's my mom on the thumbnail with one of her saxophones. Are you not coming, Twiz? You were one of the people that requested it. So you better show up there. Be there or be dead to me. No, just kidding. But so yeah, so we are going to be doing that. And yeah, so I will go ahead. You can't. Are you joking? Oh, for Pete's sake. I feel like I've cursed enough today. Anyway, okay. Well, we are going to go ahead and shuttle on over there. And those of you guys who are members, if you want to come, I'll see y'all here shortly in just a second. But love everybody. And also do let me know, Canton had a election, the select board election. That is another thing we could do maybe after the members only, if y'all want. We've got other things, but I just now saw that on the website. So anyway, but I'll see y'all here in just a minute. Love you guys and squirrel out.